I'm going to share with you the story of one of the worst founders that I've ever worked with. And I'm doing this not to drag a particular founder, we'll keep it anonymous. And I'm not doing this to rant and rave, even though I do like to get things off my chest. I was feeling a little testy this morning, decided I'm going to try this content. I'm going to share with you so maybe you can empathize with me, but most importantly, so you don't become one of these founders, you don't make the mistake. Even if you're inching a little closer, you might have a little more self awareness than this founder had, and you'll start to think a little different by hearing from other stories of founders that will not be successful. Like I said, this is a bit of an experiment. So if you want to hear more stories like this, leave a comment while you're there, like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube thing. That's always helpful. But before we continue, let me introduce myself and explain why I can talk about such things. My name is Ed Kang. I'm a 7-time funded founder with 2 exits. That just means I've failed a bunch of times for your benefit, because I like to use videos like this to help founders, especially early stage founders, avoid some of the catastrophic mistakes that I've made. Not to say you're not going to make mistakes, but I'm going to try to make your life a little easier, especially if you're an early stage founder raising pre-seed or seed funding. That's where I love to work with founders at that stage. I'm also the chief strategy officer for startups.com. I've advised over 600 startups directly, and I work with over 1,100 founders right now, and over 1,000 founders have come through our program, thousands of founders, and they're part of our alumni. So I've been around, I've seen founders come in all shapes and sizes, and I appreciate founders. I respect founders, and I'm not saying that this story is any of you out there, as I hope it's not, but I am saying that I do have experiences, because when you work with as many founders as me, well, you're eventually going to hit some founders that maybe you didn't want to work with. The founder in question that I'm going to talk about today had a startup, and they had an idea to do a solution that already had massive competitors. We're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies, at least 3 of them in my mind, more if you actually count the indirect competition or the smaller competition, and he believed that he could do things differently. Now, I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. If you think that you can do something differently in an already established market with some really big companies, let's say payment processing, great, go for it. But you're going to have to tell me how you are different. And that's precisely what I asked this founder. How are you different, and how are you going to beat all these other competitors? Because I was working this founder, and I was helping this founder raise money. And this founder was trying to raise millions of dollars of money after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of their own money to try and set up an MVP. So there's a lot at stake here. You have to understand, investors are going to be thinking, why you and why now? What makes this different? And I'm going to ask the founder anytime, if I'm going to be contacting investors and presenting the opportunity, I need to know. And do you know what this founder told me? This founder said to me, Ed, my stock price is the best. I kid you not. Let me say this again. Ed, my stock price is going to be better than those big competitors. That was the main differentiator. And when I began to explain to this founder, that's not going to be enough, because if your product doesn't actually sell, then it doesn't matter what your stock price is. Your stock price is never going to go up. It's going to go in the toilet. And the investors that came in now believing you, which I don't think there could possibly be investors that believe in that type of story, that stock is just going to keep going down, and you're just throwing away money. Well, you can imagine this founder did not like my answer, and it boils down to something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And I'm going to do a full-length video on this, explaining this psychological effect, this cognitive bias. If you're looking for it, again, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know that you want to hear about the Dunning-Kruger effect, because I see this in basically 80% of the founders that I work with. And this founder proceeded to say, you don't know what you're talking about. And I acknowledge I might not know what I'm talking about. What do I know? I've only raised over $100 million for my startups, other startups, and startup funds. I've worked with several companies that have successfully raised. I work with a team that's raised over $750 million for startups back in the day. I don't know. Maybe I know a few things, but I'm going to entertain what you have to say. But then this founder made it personal and started complaining and sending emails saying, I'm not doing my job and I'm worthless, etc., etc. It even got escalated to my upper management. And boy, oh boy, did they say things about me to customer service that were completely inappropriate. And they said things to my manager. This is Ed. Do you have any idea who you got working for you? I've had this happen so many times, because founders look for any reason to blame other people if they're not willing to look at the reality of their current situation and accept it. I'm the type type of advisor that I want to be generous, I want to be gentle, and I want to live in the gray. That's what the GGG behind me stands for. But sometimes I have to give tough love. I have to explain to a founder, you need to get out of your head, you need to get out of whatever bubble that you're living in and look at reality. That's exactly what I try to do on this YouTube channel. I would rather take a risk and hurt your feelings and tell you the reality so your mind opens up and you start seeing things for what they are rather than let you live in your bubble and be completely oblivious and be disappointed later on. And worst yet, your startup tanks, you lose all your money and your dreams are smashed. But if you start trying to make things personal and you go after my reputation, well, then we're going to have a really big issue. And I never want to talk to this founder again if I never hear about them. And I hope they prove me wrong. I hope this founder proves me wrong and does something absolutely amazing. But with that type of attitude, and I can just imagine if they're treating me like this and I'm supposed to be the expert, how are they treating other people? And whichever investor actually falls for that reason to invest, well, they're just throwing money. Good money after bad money, which becomes bad money and becomes a big vicious cycle. And my understanding is this founder had a history of contributing to society and probably was a leader back in the day, but something happened where the Dunning-Kruger effect, they learned just a little bit and they thought they were an expert and they refused to listen to the other experts. And guess what? We all washed our hands of this founder and we went in the other direction. Let me summarize by saying this. You saying that the best reason to invest in your startup is because that investor will make money for whatever reason is precisely the wrong reason. It's never going to work. If you have investors that do come in for that reason, they are not proper startup investors. Startup investors understand that you have to create a product that people love and they start to use and you start gaining traction in the marketplace, and your fundamentals, your revenue, your growth, your profitability, all those things lead up to a better stock price, because once you get to Wall Street, they are scouring every single little shred of evidence, your financials, to understand exactly what value you represent, and the markets are going to decide what value your startup is. You, in your own mind, just thinking that you've got a better price and investors are going to make money, that is not the game that you want to play. Yes, investors want to make money, but you are going to tell them, I'm going to build a great product that stands apart from the competition, that customers love, and we're going to grow, and that's going to make money, and by that, you're going to make money based on how good my startup is. And this all boils back to you as the founder. If you're coming across as a complete jerk, a complete jackhole, I want to say all this profanity and let out a tirade, but I'm not going to, because I just get hot under the collar because I have to deal with so many founders and I want to help them all. But if they refuse to get help, they refuse to listen, then that's going to affect your relationship with investors. The right investor is going to see you a mile away. You are going to appear obstinate, absolutely stubborn, uncoachable, and that's not the type of founder I want to invest in. Investors want to invest in, because later on, you're going to create a toxic culture. You're going to be one of those CEOs. Nobody's going to want to work for you. You're going to blow off all your investors. You're going to completely sour the entire cap table with your attitude, and that is going to lead to subsequent rounds where you're not going to be able to raise. You're going to lose customers, and it's the beginning of the end. That's the reason investors look at the founder early and they say to themselves, how is this founder occurring to me? And is this someone that I can see leading a team of 300 people, 3,000 people to make $100 million, raise subsequent rounds, work with other investors, be the public face of the company, attract the right talent? That's going to be important. So don't be that founder that I just described. Think to yourself, okay, I am going to build a great company that customers love, and therefore investors are going to love, because I'm serving these investors really great. That's it for me now. I'd love to hear your feedback on my story. In the meantime, you want to check out some of these other videos that I'm going to put on the screen. Leave me a comment. Let me know. I love to have conversations. Tell me what you want me to talk about next. I'm going to be an open book, transparent. I want to share with you all my stories for your benefit. Get out there, build your great startup, talk to your customers. It's going to be great. Work with me on this one. I will see you in the next video.